Hi, it's Dave Johow once again for the Boxing Voice. Pleased to be joined by a world-class trainer all the way from Las Vegas, Kevin Barry. How are you, Kevin?
Dave, I'm great, and it's great to be back online with you again, my friend, and speaking to the Boxing Voice. It's
Good
been a
stuff.
while.
I know it's been a long time, to be fair. I mean, how you been first of all? How's Vegas
Look,
treating you?
been well. We're busy in the gym here. During the pandemic, we changed that gym around a little bit. My son Taylor was busy putting new programs in place. We brought some new sponsors on board, and we've refitted out the inside of our gym. So it's been a productive time for us. During that time, I spent 5 months in New Zealand, which got me away from Vegas for a while. But since coming back in March this year, I've been pretty busy.
Good stuff. Always on the go. You are, aren't you, Vegas?
Well, you have to be. You got to do it while you can.
Absolutely. Well travelled. So going into recent news, then I've read recently that one of your fighters, Umar Salamov, will be fighting Joe Smith Jr. in the highly anticipated Joe Smith Jr.'s first ever title defense. How's preparation going for that? It's only recently been signed, hasn't it, in terms of contract?
Well, we've had the fight in the works for some time, ever since Smith fought Maxim Vlasov, which is a fight that we put together. We represent Vlasov. We signed him to a promotional deal with Top Rank, and we put that fight together with Joe Smith. Just before we talk about Salamov, the fight against Joe Smith and Vlasov was a complete war, and a fight that a lot of people thought that Max had done enough to win. But bringing a Russian to America, fighting an American fighter, was always going to be tough. And we lost a very, very, very close decision in a fight that we thought we won. So my other light heavyweight who I train and manage, I manage with my Russian partner Oleg Bogdanov, Umar Salamov. Umar's been he's been waiting for a while for this opportunity. 26-1. He was the world youth champion. He was the WBO international champion, WBO European champion. He spent a lot of time in his career preparing for this world title challenge, and it's a fight that he is fizzing at the bit for. Umar at the moment is still in camp in Russia. He will be over here within a week, and he's coming to me in really good shape. And then we'll be putting together a game plan and his training camp and sparring in preparation for this big fight with Joe Smith.
I mean, with the war that was Vaslov and Joe Smith Jr. I mean, Joe Smith Jr. Really took it to the trenches, and so did Vaslov. How much do you read into that? Do you think that's taken a lot out of him in terms of that performance? It was only a few months ago, wasn't it, in April? So do you think that's taken a lot out of him?
It took a lot out of Vlasov, but Vlasov's recovered now, as it would have Smith. There was times in that fight that both guys looked like they were going to stop the other opponent. Vlasov, in his record of 45-4, has never been stopped. So it would have been some accomplishment if Joe Smith was able to do it. But during that fight, in rounds 9 and 10, we were very confident, and it looked very likely that Vlasov was going to stop Joe Smith in that fight. But, Smith showed huge character to come back and win the 11th and 12th rounds. And that's what won him the fight on the judges' cards. It was a really good fight. But look, watching that fight up close, it's given us an extra help in preparing our game plan for Joe Smith. Umar Salamov's a much heavier-handed fighter than Maxim Vlasov. Not as awkward, but very powerful. And we know Joe Smith's powerful. That's what's going to make this such an exciting fight. Two very dangerous guys going at it.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Vaslov as well in the press conference, and he looked calm, collected with his shades on, and he was ready to go the distance, to be fair, and that's what happened. And
he's very experienced and very composed. He's been in the game a long time. He's been a 14-year pro. We were hoping to actually get the Callum Smith fight. And I spoke with some of Smith's people. Vlasov's the sort of guy that anyone trying to make a name for themselves in the light heavyweight division is really got to come through Maxim Vlasov. Let's remember, this is a guy that fought for the world cruiserweight title. This is a guy that, from all accounts, fought Gilberto Ramirez as a super middleweight to a draw. But of course, once again, coming to America, he lost that decision. He fought for the light heavyweight title against Joe Smith. So, there are big fights in the UK for somebody like Maxim Vlasov. We just saw Boatsi last weekend, great performance. But I mean, here's a guy he's stepping up in the light heavyweight division. Well, maybe he should step up and fight Maxim Vlasov.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a really interesting one because he's touted as the next big thing in the division, isn't he, to be fair?
Yes, he really is. And, and if you believe you're the guy, why not fight somebody like Maxim Vlasov, 45-4, who's never been stopped?
Yeah, it'd be a really interesting one actually if they can make that happen. And in regards to actually preparing for the fight, how much of Joe Smith Jr.'s losses are you reading into as well against Barrera and the likes of?
Obviously he got beaten by Bivol, we got beaten by Sullivan Barrera. But look, we're not looking at that guy. We're looking at the guy that's in front of us now. We're looking at it. Let's remember, most fighters, when they win that world title strap, become 10 to 15% a better fighter. And I expect that in Joe Smith. He's a proud, hardworking guy. He's got a really hardworking team around him. It's going to be a very difficult fight for us. But a fight that, as I mentioned, we've waited a long time for this opportunity for Umar Salamov to fight for the world title. We were very happy when we signed with Top Rank because we knew that was going to be a direct link for us to get whichever champion it was at the time into the ring for the light heavyweight belt. So look, we're ready, we're prepared, and we're going to make the most of this opportunity. But as far as looking at all the old fights, no, I want to look at the Joe Smith that's there now, what he is doing now at this stage of his career, what he has learned from the losses. We'll be analysing a whole lot of Joe Smith, believe me.
I mean, it's going to be a true 50-50 fight, isn't it? If you look at the records, they're more or less very identical, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Similar.
Both guys hit very hard. Both guys like to come forward and impose their will on their opponents. It's going to be a very good fight. And the fight taking place in New York, probably at Madison Square Garden, it's going to be a great opportunity for Joe Smith and his supporters, to come out and get him behind him. So it's the whole spectacle is sure to be a great presentation, and the one I know that Top Rank are really looking forward to.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely wonderful. Another fighter that you've got under your stable is an unbeaten Russian, Azarambek Idagogov, 20-0 undefeated fighter as well. Ranked very highly in the WBO, number 5 in the WBO as well.
Number 5, yes.
Number 5. I mean, when's he out in action next? And for those that don't know him, I'll be honest with you, I've had to do some research on him as well. When do we expect him out next? And do you think this will be the year when he starts pushing and challenging for titles? Because he is quite highly ranked.
Aslanbek Idagogov, he, as you mentioned, he's got a record of 20-0. I think he's been really under the radar. It's a guy that has been in the camp with Umar Salamov and with other fighters like Abdi Davev, which was an undefeated heavyweight for many years. It's a guy that hasn't really been allowed to shine as much as he should. I've had him in camp with just a couple of guys over the last 2 months, and he's really come away in leaps and bounds. He's been ranked highly with the WBO for some time. We've held the WBO European belt, defended it quite a few times, and at the age of 25, he's now getting ready to step up and look to get in a big fight. The super middleweight division is red hot at the moment. There's a lot of great fighters in there, and it's just a matter of, trying to find the right style for us. Eddie Goff's not a tall super middleweight, but he's very powerful and very aggressive, very muscular. And his style makes for good fights because he's pressing all the time. I think that maybe 2022 is going to be a really big year for this young guy. He's had a long time to prepare, and he's showing me more this camp than what I've ever seen from him before. So, at the moment we're looking at scheduling a fight October the 4th, possibly in Moscow. So that's what we're gearing towards at the moment. He's already got 65 rounds of sparring in this training camp, so he's getting himself in very good shape.
Yeah, I mean, even the number one in the WBO, Zach Parker from England.
Tough guy.
Very tough guy. He's from a town actually down the road from myself, and even though he's a name in the boxing community, he's not really a household name. I'm surprised at that as well. Very surprised.
Yeah, but I tell you what happens is, like, when you get someone like a Zach Parker and he's starting to make a little bit of noise, there's a lot of very good guys above him in the world rankings. And so you don't want to make too much noise until you're ready. And once you're prepared to start calling out all the big names, then you better be ready. So I think that's what's happened with him and his team. They've done a very good job to position him where he is. And he's a dangerous guy.
Yeah, he's up there for a reason, right?
He certainly is.
He certainly is. Olympics have just gone and passed, Kevin. And how much do you remember your time at the Olympics and winning the silver medal and being part of that legacy as well of New Zealand? Is that something that you look back at on every Olympics that comes past during your time?
Look, I tell you what, the Olympics is a very special time for our family because, and something that we look forward to every 4 years is, like, I met my wife, Tanya, on the flight to the 84 Olympics in LA. We sat beside each other on the plane. She was from a different city in New Zealand. And, Tanya was New Zealand's first ever rhythmic gymnast. And every time the Olympics is on, we spend, I'll be honest, we spend a lot of time watching track and field and watching swimming. They're two of the events that we love. And of course, Tanya loves watching the gymnastics. And I'll take as much boxing as I can get. But unfortunately, I didn't really get to see a great deal of it. Maybe because of the time difference, but the Olympics is a special time in our house, and our children appreciate that, and they know that was the beginning of this family. And we every 4 years, we look forward to the Olympics, and we do reminisce. And over that, we have a family day every Sunday in our household, and it's summer here at the moment. I do a big barbecue, and it's been the topic of discussion for the last 2 or 3 weeks, the Olympic Games, and my wife and myself telling stories from the Olympic days.
That's an impressive. The 84 Olympics were very, very impressive. I mean, people like Evander and stuff. You shared a ring with him. Was there always like this aura around him, Evander Holyfield?
I remember at the Olympics, it was Evander was a guy that wasn't even supposed to be in the American team. There was another light heavyweight, Ricky Womack, who I hadn't fought, but we'd been at different tournaments around the world together, and we just hadn't been drawn together. And I remember Evander had to beat him twice in 2 days to get that berth. And at the same time, Evander was rooming with Mike Tyson, and Tyson had the same thing. He had to beat Henry Tillman twice in 2 days, which he couldn't do because Tillman was a better amateur fighter. But so that was the beginning for Holyfield. He proved, no, I should be in this team. And I remember he was a very big, very muscular, very physical guy. And he would walk around the Olympic Village with a plastic suit on because he was so big. It was very, very hard for him to make weight. And really, I could have probably fought as a middleweight. because we were fighting in the light heavyweight division. I used to make the weight very, very easy, never missed a meal, never had to cut. But I do remember, and then Vander and I talked about it a few years afterwards. He said he hated it, having to walk around the village with this plastic.
If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, and share. As always, if you want to support us to the next level, head over to the patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice. We have tons of exclusive from Border Wars, Entitled, betting shows, the list goes on and on and on. But in addition to that, if you guys have questions for fighters, trainers, and promoters, this is where you can submit them. We will run out, get these questions answered, and put it back on the show just for you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.